Well, hello, my name is Michael Rosso, and I'm here with Matt Marash.
Hey, how's it going?
Today is a movie film show.
Yes.
Folks have been asking for it, and Matt, my goal, you have goals.
Mm-hmm.
First of the month, movie film show. 15th of the month, still photography show.
Wow. Wait, so when you say people have been asking, is it more than just Owen?
A handful?
Okay.
Because, John Fideli is king at being like, he'd be like, Mike, what, tens of people?
There's dozens of us.
Yes. I think some of our film photographers who listen are mildly interested in talking about movie film.
Yeah, it takes time.
I always preach the same thing. There's no information you're going to hear on this show talking about movie film that you cannot use in your still photography. It's the same.
It is. It's the same. It's just like there's a few more challenges to this.
Yes.
That kind of make it fun, but also make it a nightmare.
Yeah, you're shooting a frame, and you have to deal with what is your camera shutter speed, what aperture are you using, and what is the ISO of your film.
That's it.
That's it.
Just more limitations. Yeah.
Yes, except in movie film, it's running through your camera at whatever, 20. You're shooting 24 frames per second, as opposed to one still when you choose.
Yeah, and in an increasingly moving image centric world, it's just a good thing to know. Like, how many times do you scroll on your phone before a video starts automatically playing? It's like it's instant.
Yeah.
So knowing a little bit behind the scenes on this is valuable, but you don't necessarily have to dive off the deep end like we both have.
We are accepting letters. You have questions for the show, podcast@filmphotographyproject.com. We're very prolific on YouTube with roll reviews, lots of especially regular 8-16 millimeter wind-up cameras, tutorials, and there are a lot of comments there, and I try to answer all those questions. Of course, I get emails. I like personally doing podcasts in person. Oh, that's 14 millimeter film. Minolta 16.
Oh, okay. This is
Matt's
so
looking-
funky. There's no perf on. Yeah, I'm just digging around the desk, everybody.
Yeah, Matt's just like looking at the film that's on the desk. I like doing podcasts in person. I do.
It's so much. You get so
just-
much more.
It's just different. It's just,
Because when we're behind a Zoom screen, you don't know. I've got dog stuff going on
Right.
or whatever. And there's stuff to do, interact with.
yeah. So, that's my goal. To first of the month, cine, film, podcast. I'm certainly not going to be every month, but I'm going to try. Let's open up with a letter.
Let's take it away.
This is a good letter, by the way, because it opens up an entire topic.
Oh, sweet. This is from Bob R. Photos. Good morning. I bought from you some Cine 8 100D recently. My question is, I was thinking of shooting this outside in the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum in Strattsburg, PA. Would this film work in a place like this? Lighting is okay, but has very high ceilings, and not sure if a light panel will make a difference. What are your thoughts on this? Bob Reppert. I've got a few thoughts, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So if that's regular 8?
Regular
100D?
8.
So a lot of the regular 8 cameras will, they're typically going to have lenses that are decently fast, right? There's 1.8s, there's 2.8s in there. So with 100D, most of these cameras, let's kind of boil down to those basic settings we were just discussing, right? So your regular 8 cameras are going to either shoot at 18 or 24 frames a second, and we almost always
16 or 18.
Oh, sorry, 16 or 18, and we almost always recommend.
Oh, 16 or 24. Sorry.
Yeah, 16, 24. Sorry.
Some shoot at 12, by the way.
Oh wow, 12. That's like makes everything look like it's going fast.
I don't want to break your chain of thought, so continue.
Yeah. So let's say it's 16 frames a second that goes at. That means your effective shutter speed that you're metering for is like a 30th.
35th.
30th, 35th of a second. So with that, a 100 speed film is in open shadow for I'm thinking a railroad museum has if it's got tall ceilings, it probably has a big door with window light coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got window light coming in and you're not too far from that open window source, you can probably shoot at f4 to f5.6 with some of that diffused direct light coming in. If it's overcast, you're gonna have to be wide open, or provide some light in there.
getting to know your camera and how it works is super important. For example, most folks shoot at 16 frames per second, regular 8. But of course, if you shoot 12 frames per second, that gives you...
You doubled your... you time and a half your exposure.
Yeah. So sometimes you can make those choices out of necessity.
Yes, but it will have a stylistic impact as well.
Not as much as you would think.
No?
A little bit, not too much.
Yeah. If something's moving like at a pretty good clip, it'll look
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. But if it's Railroad Museum and the stuff's not moving...
Emails about lighting are difficult because I don't have a
see
vision.
it.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it. And I remember when I was shooting Ghoul School, we shot that on 16 millimeter, but I had a lighting director, Tim Healy. Tim O'Raw, the director, would be like, okay, next scene we're shooting, and Tim would immediately say, let's go see it. Let's go see it. Let's go see it. Because he could not make any judgments as to what he had to do without seeing the room.
Yeah.
And then he would judge it by that. Now,
All right, here we go. I'm going... Bob, I'm going one step above and beyond. I've pulled up some Google images for the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania in Stratford,
I never even
PA.
thought of that.
All right, here we go. Oh, someone's doing a walkthrough video. Okay, so this is this is what I'm thinking. It's like warehouse style, big rail museum.
But look how digital phone images, it lights up.
It HDRs everything.
Yes.
This is not what you will get if you shoot it with film at all. But see, look at that. Outside, where it's just starting to get covered by you could shoot that. That's at sunny 16 if it's a bright sunny day. But inside, I bet you could shoot pretty close to wide open and not need anything else.
Because there's a lot of fluorescent there.
Yes. Is that fluorescent or is it a just
there's
an opening?
halogen, or is it just skylight?
I think there's a combination of that's skylight right there because that's meant to look like a like the station that's pulled into.
I know it's expensive, but I try to suggest or put everyone in the mindset of doing a test. When I say that, I mean you go to the museum, you have your roll of film. I would shoot wide open inside.
Yes, because you're not going to get punished for overexposing. Well, Ektachrome is...
But it's not going to be that much of an overexposure.
No, it won't be more than a stop. No.
Make sure the light's to your back, right?
Yeah.
Make sure the light's hitting your subject. And shoot a test roll.
But there's lots of natural light pouring in there. So I think shoot wide open, throw it to 16 frames a second. But above all, before you go throwing a roll of Ektachrome into your camera, make sure it works. Throw some inexpensive negative film.
Oh, the camera?
Yeah, make sure the camera's
I think
in good...
Bob has been shooting enough to...
Okay, he's good.
He knows his camera's working. So.
Oh, perfect.
But this is like a rabbit hole of topics because...
One question. Look at it's a whole podcast.
So many folks are shooting for the first time, and each roll, so much film comes in here to the FPP because we offer development and scanning as well as film sales, and so many folks says camera test, camera test, camera test, camera test. I see so much film, and I struggle with this myself because I'm always testing a camera, and I struggle for content. And when I say that, I mean, if you're going to spend the $100, right, and you're going to do a camera test, let's all assume your camera's going to work.
Yeah.
So since your camera's probably going to work, don't just pan the backyard. Plan something.
Yeah.
Write
it out. Yeah.
Even if it's going into town, to town center, shooting town hall, the post office, the main street. Something that you could apply it to. This is me personally. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just saying, me personally, I want something that I can, if the film comes out, I could edit up and put on YouTube. And then be like, oh, hey, this is, people have seen it a zillion times. This is our Fair Lawn facility built in 1945. And this is the water tower. And there's this, stylistic building. And, here's this and here's that. Or I shot a test with Paige Davis and John Fideli. And we inducted his kids, kids and puppets and masks, and it was fall, so there were leaves. So we just try to do something fun with it.
So another tip for folks that they find themselves in this situation with their cine camera, and maybe they're not sure. Oh, am I going to be able to shoot in this type of situation? You can always, even if you don't want to spring for a spare cartridge or roll for a test, you can always just swing by, scout the location with a little light meter app. So I've just got light meter pulled up in here, and I wanted to see, hey, could I shoot? I already know the answer, but could I shoot 100D here in FPPHQ.
Yes, you can. I've done it.
Yeah, but what are you going to be? You're going to be like wide open. Like,
Wide open, and if you do have a small light panel, because Rob did ask about his
the
name's
light
Rob,
panel.
right?
Yep. Or is it Bob or Rob?
Bob. Bob, we've been calling you Rob. Bob, Rob, I don't know. Same name, right? Robert could
yeah.
be Bob.
Yeah.
Light panel is for like if you're going into like something very tight, 5 feet away. Light
Yes.
panel.
And especially the effectiveness of the light panel is proportionate to the speed of your film.
Yeah.
So a 100 speed film, you need a really bright light to make that happen. Or if you have like a smaller panel, that thing has to be super close. I would say once it's more than a meter away, it's not going to do much good. You know, a lot of people, they'll first get a light panel or even like a flash, and they'll want to bounce it because they see a lot of photographers do that at events.
Yeah.
But bouncing it is the easiest way to like get no light out of it.
Yep.
And that's why they're using big old flashes when that happens, because you need that much to travel that extra distance. I know in the past we've discussed double eight. You've put some double eight cameras in my hand. I still love that little the little Zeiss, the Movicon.
Oh, Movicon's beautiful.
Best
Yeah.
with the wide angle attachment. That's still like, I'm still searching those up, but I think we talked about them too much because the price is starting to creep.
Keep an eye out. You'll
Yeah.
you'll get a package.
I've got
cheap.
alerts, so yeah.
Sometimes you can get the camera with the wide angle adapter.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Movicon 8, regular 8mm camera, Zeiss lens. It looks, when you're shooting with it, you shoot it like it's a still camera.
Yeah, it looks like a still camera.
Looks like a still camera,
I wouldn't say it's pocket size, but it's small.
but it's so beefy and hardy.
It is.
It's beautiful.
And it's got really good registration.
Great registration.
Yeah, you just flip it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loading is very different
It is.
than
yeah.
other regular 8 cameras.
Yeah.
It's very unique.
Do you think that's what scares some people
No.
away from regular 8? No? Or they just go for it?
I didn't even know the Movicon 8 existed until mail came one day in a box from Leslie Lazenby, and it was in there.
That's a Leslie camera.
Yeah, it's like when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. We have a video on YouTube, Movicon 8. It's a really great camera, so you're kind of holding out for that.
Yeah, because I'm not going to... I had some false hope because last year I was at an estate sale, and I don't think I talked about this on the show because it was disappointing. I was running a test roll of a Pallard Bolex regular 8, and as soon as I told you I picked it up, you're like, "Oh wow, does it work?" And I thought it worked, and then I got midway through my test roll, and the spring died. Stoops.
Regular 8 Bolex. I have one here right on the table.
Oh, look at that.
This one's the C8. And we did a review of this also on YouTube. The YouTube video is called Baby. I call this Baby Bolex.
Oh yeah.
They're usually popular. Everyone loves them. I mean, what's not to love? But more than not, the glue, or I should say the grease inside the camera
It's completely solid.
gets solidified. So you'll get the camera without filming it. You're like, hey, man, oh, that sounds good. But then once you put a roll in, the camera doesn't have enough torque to pull the roll through.
Exactly. And it's because usually the spring's been some amount of tightened for 50 years before you picked it up.
You can get these cleaned, lubricated, and adjusted.
Yes. It can be pricey for what it
Yeah.
is, but yeah.
If you just Google Bolex repair, you'll find 2-3 online. I'm not sure if our buddies at Do All do the Baby Bolex, do they?
I know they do Bolex. I don't know if they do the babies. Yeah.
I would say if you have one and it's in good shape, I'd say it's worth getting repaired. Because, I mean, every camera needs to be CLA'd, clean, lubricated, and adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I own so many movie cameras that I have not gotten, none of them. I have not sent one out for CLA, and shame on me because I really should invest the money and get a solid camera. But, I mean, if you have a Baby Bolex, these are worth having. And the Movicon 8, Matt, I mean, even if you shot it once, it's such a beautiful camera. Even if you shot it once every 5 years.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
But, the plus for Super 8, of course, and Regulate and Super 8, of course, is that, if you're just running out the door going on vacation and you don't want to bring 16, I mean, it is great.
Yeah, 16, it's a lot to haul that around.
Yeah. Super 8 is king. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's popular, the most popular hobbyist movie film format. A lot of folks shooting music videos on it.
Yes, or take it to weddings. Yeah.
Yep. One of my favorite bands, Telenovela from Texas, they shoot on their music
Their
videos.
latest video is really, really great. A lot
Yeah.
of good color and clean
Great.
shots. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Did you guys scan that?
Did not.
Oh, okay.
No, I
It
haven't.
looked good, so I wasn't sure.
I am a fan of the band, so I don't want to be like super nerdy or like hit them up, be like, hey man, we offer this. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's like
Just play it cool.
yeah, it's got to just play it cool. Super 8 is king. Lots of issues with Super. There should be no issues with Super 8.
Oh,
There should be no issues with Super 8 because it's the easiest format to shoot, but there are issues with Super 8, and the most notable issues with Super 8 are focus. We get a lot of film in here from event photographers who are shooting some video on Super 8. I was just telling Matt before we started rolling, like, I don't want anyone out there to think that I'm immune from any of these problems or that I am a know-it-all and these problems don't plague me. I'm just as dumb as everyone else out there.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. I mean, it's like I picked up a camera the other day. There was some film left on a roll. I popped it in my Super 8 camera. I walked around the studio, shot it all. Every frame was out of focus. Severely out of focus because...
Oh.
And the reason it was because I picked up the camera. I didn't look at the lens. I just popped the cartridge in and started shooting. And what I didn't notice is that the lens was set to 4 feet.
Oh no! So everything's front focus.
Yeah, so, and I'm shooting everything, 6 feet to infinity.
Oh, so it's just a blur fest.
So it was just a blur fest, and I have to tell you, after all these years, says the man who shot a feature film on Super 8, horribly, it happens to me, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, and it really brings home what we've been saying about every single camera, which is know your camera.
Mm-hmm.
You should in your head or write it on your arm. Like there are certain like a little checklist for yourself.
Yes.
That you have to have, especially if you're shooting for a client, because
before you take any, you have
Yeah.
to know that thing inside and out. Yeah.
So I mean I've been shooting so long film that I don't get worried or think about it, but I can understand. I'm sure a lot of folks out there shooting Super 8, are getting the film sweats, and it's easy to forget something or, use 500T in blazing sun, but then when you go inside, use the 50D. So there are a few.
Oh no.
There are a few like really, checklist items of folks who are digital shooters who don't really know about Super 8, which is the film stocks, what film stock to use in what situation, your camera lens, setting the focus properly. What's the easiest way to set the focus? And to check your camera. Matt and I have a few cameras here we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
I think both of them have 2 sets of batteries, right?
I think I just have one set of batteries, but I did juice up the one before we
But
started.
the Nizo takes 2.
This one takes 6.
But what about for the light meter?
Oh yeah, it takes 2 for the light meter and then 6 for the.
So if you buy your beautiful Nizo on eBay, you're stoked. You put your 6 AA batteries in it, and then you're all set. You're like, hey man, I'm set. But you don't put a battery in the light meter. You're
Done.
You're shooting wide open the entire day. So
Oh, so it defaults to wide. Oh, okay.
most of them default to wide open. I'm not sure about the Nizo, but
Okay.
we've seen reels come in here where it's like all the inside shots look good. Everything outside is so blown out that, it can't be corrected. So 2 sets of batteries. I mean, some cameras take 2 sets of batteries. My beautiful Minolta 601 XL just takes the AA's.
So what are some other conveniences that draw people to the Super 8 cameras? What else do you think makes them king?
Social media.
Okay.
On social media, I think folks don't know that anything else exists. Just like as a teen, myself shooting, goofing around with my friends down at Ortley Beach, like grabbed my dad's Super 8 camera. I never thought about regular 8. And back then you could buy regular 8.
Yeah.
It was never a thought. So I think that in 2024 and beyond, it's like if you go on social media, all Super 8. I mean, not all, but
Mm-hmm.
and then if it's not Super 8, but it says 8mm, you just assume it's Super 8.
Yes.
Just like folks who go to a thrift store and buy a regular 8 camera,
Thinking it's Super 8.
they're just assuming they could pop a cartridge in.
Oh, okay. So that's one big allure though too, right? Is loading is you pop a cartridge in.
Absolutely, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned social media is what like really blows up the Super 8. You know, every time I've looked at stuff on Super 8, I think I might have mentioned this before we started rolling, but like I always see on Facebook groups and on Reddit, there's all these posts about Super 8 cartridges jamming. Is that a thing? What's going on with that?
Well, folks, I want folks listening to, not get upset because I have my opinion. And my opinion is only my opinion based upon my experience. And I'm not making an argument for anything other than what I see. I see a lot of Super 8 film in here because we offer the services. And I have my, dare I say, 40 plus years shooting Super 8. I've never seen a jam cartridge in my life. Never. I've never seen a jam cartridge. And I'm skeptical whether Kodak cartridges are ever jammed and it's not the camera that's jamming them. I get a handful of emails from, some are just Super 8 shooters, some are FPP customers who have a jam cartridge. They're not mild. They're upset. Because, of course, they have a project.
Yeah, they went right into the project, yeah.
They're like, I have a friend and he says it's the cartridge. And, take a deep breath and sigh because it doesn't just apply to Super 8. You have to understand here at the FPP, dealing with every single format, still photography, every shooter wants to blame the film. Every shooter wants to blame the film. And the film is almost like, I'm going to say 99.9% never. There's only one time where Kodak recalled 120 T-Max 100 back in like 2017.
Yeah, in the mid-2010s.
They did like one recall. That's the only recall for film I've ever seen. So when I received an email from anyone about any film stock that, it's a problem, that person is leaving out vital information that they may not know, that they've done something, or they don't, they may not know or don't bother telling me. Like, for example, Super 8, you pop your cartridge in and your motor's a little weak, so it's not pulling the cartridge, it's not pulling it through. So if that's the problem, you may pop out your cassette and you may look at the cassette, and on the side of a cassette is like a little wheel that you turn.
Okay.
And that is it's so simple.
That's the mechanism for it.
The camera is just driving a little wheel that's moving the film through a cassette.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start messing with that and you start turning it the wrong way, you've effed your cartridge. So you've effed your cartridge. Now there's no going back. The folks at Pro 8 have a little video online. It's I think it's like Super 8 cartridge repair or fix a Super 8 cartridge, and it's a super simple video. It just shows you how to nudge out a little bit of the film and then the proper direction to turn that little wheel.
Okay.
To move the
avoid that sort of situation.
To avoid that problem.
Okay.
But I think folks are panicking. But you have to understand, because folks have said, and I have multiple Super 8 cameras, and I tried it in all three. Once you F the cartridge, then it's done.
It's not going to work in anything.
No, it's done.
This kind of reminds me, Mike. It's not movie related, but it's film photography sweats related. I was in the darkroom. I was doing a lot of printing, like it was a week or two ago, and everything was going like okay. I was making contact sheets for some customer prints I was doing, and the first contact sheet was like okay. So I made my adjustment, and I did another one. This doesn't track. This isn't looking like I thought. Oh, my developer's fresh, so that's fine. Maybe something weird is going on with the enlarger. That's weird. And then the next print was it was faint. There was nothing. I was like, oh my God, alarm bells are going off. Oh my gosh. My chemicals are cross-contaminated. The bulb is going bad on the enlarger. The paper's bad. You know who I didn't blame in all of that?
What's that?
Myself.
Ah.
I flipped the damn paper. So I was printing through the other side of the paper. But like, folks, it literally happens to all of us. And it's only at that point where you're most frustrated, where you need to like take a step back and like, let's look at this. Let's pull back and take a look at the bigger picture.
Yep. Like, ask yourself what's happening here, but don't be emotional about it.
No, it happens.
So Super 8 cartridges, when you're done with the cartridge, it will say exposed at the end. It'll
Okay.
actually be imprinted. You'll see it embossed, exposed. So folks who have jam problems, they'll shoot whatever they're going to shoot and then send it to us for development scanning. And I'll write that person an email saying, hey, your cartridge is not finished. Hey, it got jammed in my camera. And then I do the little trick.
Yep.
I pull the film out, I adjust it the right way, and then I pop it in my camera, and then I'll shoot the rest of it out of focus because I'm stupid and shot
Forgot
it.
to set focus.
Yeah, I forgot to set focus. But so to answer your question, I mean, there are a lot of heated threads.
I know that's what's kind of scared me from Super 8, honestly.
And everyone's like, "Oh, it's
this
it's
batch
Kodak.
is bad." Yeah.
I heard that this batch of 100D is bad." Listen, man, you have to do your research, and especially whatever you read in a Reddit thread. And I'm not saying people are purposefully putting bad information out there, but the person who's laying the information out probably is not experienced
A
enough.
lot of times you don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, they're not experienced enough to really give all of the facts. And we've corresponded with Eastman Kodak regarding the Super 8. And they ask great questions like, what batch is it? What this? What that? And I can't speak for them, but I think they're fed up. Because think of how many individual emails they're getting.
I can't imagine, because we get the emails.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what the source gets.
As a movie film shooter, me personally, I'm prepared to suck it all up. Meaning, I've made so many errors. In my 16 cameras have jammed, my Bolex is jammed, and I just suck it up. I don't blame anyone ever, except for myself. And it's my fault if I didn't get that camera CLA'd.
Yeah.
If you have a Super 8 camera, like I know the Canons, they could be serviced.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them cannot, but some of them can. So just, put their responsibility square on. I mean, no one wants to be like preached at, right?
Sure.
But you got to put the responsibility on your own shoulders. And
But also ask the common sense question. Is it the company that makes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these things per year on the production line when everything's fine? Or is it because you just slapped a cartridge into a camera that hasn't been used in 40 years?
and I don't have to tell you, Matt, Kodak of all companies, like they're so specific and so, their specs are so high.
Yeah, and we're talking here, folks. This is Eastman Kodak. This is the coding facility. We're
Right.
not talking like a Kodak, label on something. Like this is the stuff
Right.
they do. This is their bread and butter.
The other thing, which is very important, is you're like, even that Niso camera. I mean, that's from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a clock on that camera.
Yeah,
You'll
when it goes, it goes.
Yeah, I mean, so any Super 8 camera that you have, it's gonna go. So I would really, really suggest if you have a model camera that you really like, buy a few of them.
Okay, so kind of the same advice for any stills camera we've talked about of similar vintage.
Yep.
Was more electronics integrated. And correct me if I'm wrong. Are all Super 8 cameras there's no manual ones like battery free, right? They're all some manner of battery in
All
Super 8 cameras.
batteries.
Okay,
Yep.
so that puts a stamp on it right there. Like they've got a time frame.
And they're all designed to shoot automatically. Some of them have better manual adjustments than other. I'm sure folks listening have had some good experience with manual mode on Super 8 cameras. I have never had a good experience.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of. I mean, at least these two cameras in front of me. There's a dial that says manual, but I don't really know to what degree anything's happening.
When I see reels come in and I'm looking at them in their Super 8, because, I mean, throughout the day I'll walk into our scanning department and I'll always look at what's on the screen. I'll be like, what's going on? I'll exclaim things to Dave, our colorist. I'll say stuff like, what's happening? Because I'll see a Super 8 reel is up and it's like underexposed. And I'm like,
Oh no!
underexposed outside. And I'll be like,
How?
what's happening? Because I can't believe it. Because Super 8 is designed to set it and forget it. You put it on auto and you shoot. And I'm the king, as a young man, of bypassing the auto because I knew better because I had my Gossen Luna Pro. And I'm like, hey man, I'm doing this manually. And it was like the dumbest thing I could have done. And I was advised by people like, oh, you're shooting Super 8? No, put it in A. Put it in auto. That's what it's designed for. I mean, these are not professional cameras.
All right, so with those extra little tips out of the way, folks, I've got 2 cameras in front of me that Mike is tempting me with. One.
Oh, by the way, I just want to say,
yeah.
disclaimer, Matt is, I'm not trying to tempt Matt with Super 8. You came around and said.
I did. I said, hey, I want to start getting into this a little bit. I've heard things. The Reddit threads have terrified me. So let's clear the air on Super 8.
And folks, it would be an asset to all of us Super 8 shooters for Matt to shoot Super 8 because I'm hoping you dive in, and then because we need other voices of reason, and I need other people to kind of back me up. Like, oh, I had that experience too, and you know what? That's correct.
Yeah, and that's what shooting film is, right?
Yeah.
You're never batting 1,000 on this stuff.
Yeah.
It's there's going to be some trial and error. So I've got 2 cameras here in front of me. They're both silver and black. One is considerably larger. I'm guessing, Mike, this is the older one. This is a Nikon 8X Super Zoom. This is a beefy camera.
I don't know for sure, but that kind of says like late 70s.
It looks 70s to me. Yeah, it's almost like feels like those the pre. It's like an early Pentax almost.
What's that model number?
I don't see a model number. It just says Nikon 8X Super Zoom. So it's got a big old silver Nikon zoom lens. The zoom is 7.5 millimeter to 60 millimeter. And for Super 8, if I want the effective focal length, I quadruple it. Is that right?
Oh gosh. I mean, I know that our 9mm and 16 is your nice wide.
Yeah.
So 7mm in Super 8, it's pretty wide.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm thinking about like from 16. So if this is 7.5, that's like a 15 or 16 on 16 millimeter.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, what is your normal lens length? Like, what is considered normal in Super 8? Because 25 in regular 8. Oh, 25.
Okay, it's
It
25.
would be the same as regular 8, right?
Yeah, it's
Or
just
maybe
it's
not.
just a wider frame. Yeah, so maybe it's closer to that. Yeah.
Because regular 8 cameras, like I own a few 6mm lenses.
Okay.
I mean, so
Super 8's not going to go crazy wide like that, but yeah.
yeah, it's not. It's a nice wide,
Yeah. Well,
folks.
here, I could also just like put it to 7.5. Let's see. Yeah, that feels
Yeah.
pretty wide. Yeah. Let's see. What are some other things in this lens? So it has a manual dial for the zoom, but it's locked right now because the camera is.
Oh, gotcha.
And then, yeah, it just feels hefty. On the battery port on the bottom here, this one, let's see what it takes. This one takes 4 AA batteries,
Okay.
it looks like. How much... Have you shot with this guy?
No, I've not shot with that.
So that's what I'm wondering. What's like the average life of a set of batteries in
few
this?
rolls.
A few rolls? Okay,
Yeah.
so just be ready with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I have some rechargeables back from working with the speedlight flashes. Would that be good?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
They
one
may
of those
not last as long. I'll always have a second set of batteries,
Just always
but
be
I'll
ready.
drive the batteries into the ground. Like I'll
Okay.
be shooting, and I'll hear the motor. I'm like, that doesn't sound right, and
Okay.
then it'll just die.
So it'll just get weak and then it's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I tend to really run it to the end. I mean, I'm shooting for a hobby. If you're shooting for a client, you may want to
Just have fresh ones ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm guessing if you're shooting, like, let's say a wedding, and folks out there, you could answer this more than I can. I'm guessing 1 set of batteries per wedding, I'm guessing,
Okay.
that you could barrel through. I'm guessing the light meter battery is going to last a lot longer, although this has just 1 set of batteries, right?
No, there's a second one. So it looks like this one
okay.
takes a button cell as well.
Probably 2 button cells.
Yeah, it looks like it's wide enough for 2 button
Yep.
cells, unless it takes a really big one. Yeah. All right, and then when I crack this open, so this is where I'm still pretty green about Super 8, Mike. On the inside here, it's got like your standard scales for the different speeds of Super 8 film. Where do I set film speed?
It sets automatically. And this is a big topic. I'm almost wishing I could channel Owen Juan McCafferty. It's
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, Owen has a lot more experience with Super 8. We did a whole video on the tabs,
Mm-hmm.
the film speeds, For example, some cameras like that one, does it say film speeds in there? Right.
It does.
What
yeah.
does it say? What are the options?
It goes 10 to 250 for daylight, and then for artificial light, it goes 16 to 400.
That's a great camera.
Okay.
That's a great camera because it's reading all speeds.
Oh, so there's some that don't take all speeds.
Absolutely. There's some who just took like 25 ISO and 40 ISO.
So is that what this weird stuff is?
Yeah,
over
notches.
Those are not. So
Yep.
okay, that's not just like a gate thing. That those are notches for the film speed.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Oh, I can feel it. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
So all right.
And this is an older camera.
Yeah.
The newer cameras, like for example, my Minolta 601 XL existing light, those were the newer cameras. This is beef. This is good.
Okay.
Because you have so many options on this camera. This is like a professional Super 8 camera.
No, I mean this feels like really heavy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to drop it, but it feels like it could
Consumer
survive.
cameras were like ISO like 25, 40, that's it. But then Kodak invented the XL existing light because of their new Ektachrome 160 ISO.
Fast. Yeah.
Fast. And that was considered lightning speed. There's a ton of commercials on YouTube where you see people shooting Christmas morning like an existing
Yes.
light.
Yeah. And then, all right, flipping over to the other side, I think I can guess what these are, but I'm just going to double check. That's my footage counter right there. And then whenever you see that little circle with the dash through it, that's the film plane. That's where your
Absolutely.
that's where your focus is from. They have those on your digital camera too. They're everywhere, folks. And then this guy, is that frame rate on this side? So it says 24, 18, and 12.
Yep.
So those are my frame rates.
Yep.
Okay.
18 is the norm.
That's my standard. Okay. So 20, and about how much can I shoot if I set this to the standard 18? How much time do I get on a cartridge?
3-4 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe 4 minutes on a Super 8.
Nice. And then so I can bump it a little bit if I go 12. All right.
I mean, I don't see an upside to shooting 24 except you're burning more film.
Yeah, because these are not sync sound cameras. They're wild motors.
Yep.
Okay. They're quiet, but they're wild motors. Yeah.
Yeah, 18's standard.
Okay. Did they make a sync sound Super 8 camera?
Kodak and other companies made Super 8 sound cameras, but they ran at 18 frames per second.
Okay.
And they had a magnetic strip on the film, which is awesome.
Wow. Now, that's not film you can get anymore.
No, it's gone.
Okay. Is that like the one I think I've seen? There's a really popular Canon camera.
Yeah,
It has like a
Canon.
microphone on the
Cano
end
sound?
Of it. Yes.
Yeah.
That thing's wild looking. Okay.
I mean, you could buy expired film. I mean, only if like it's expensive if you want to get the old Ektachrome 160 film developed. Spectre on the West Coast will develop it. It's like $100 just to develop. It's not worth it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because the emulsion is going to look like garbage.
It's just mostly gone. Okay.
But if you want to just do it for fun, I mean, look, I record sound frequently, wild sound on my iPhone.
Oh, it's easy to sync. We've done it a few times.
Yeah, even at 18 frames per second. Like there's a shot of us all here at this table where John is ordering pizza, Joby's sitting next to him,
Yeah.
and he's ordering pizza. And I just took the sound from the show and I laid it into the Super 8 footage. I try to keep things simple. Although folks have a lot of questions especially about sound.
Yeah.
Because it catches your imagination when you see something on eBay like Super 8 sound camera.
Yeah. Well, this is another one of those that when I was just getting started in 16, I only from looking at the Facebook groups, the Reddit groups, and other threads on there, I assumed that if I didn't have a sync sound camera, I was nothing. You know, like that was, you have to make sure you have a crystal motor and all that stuff. And you just told me, I remember you're like, Matt, just shoot a bunch of film. Just play around with it first. And the more I shot, the less I kind of cared about that. Because I was doing this more of like home movies. I wasn't doing like a YouTube video featuring a 16 camera. That sounds like an awful way to waste film.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot film. Really, seriously, it's the only way to do it. It's the only way to get a grip on all of this. But it's easy. It's easy to catch your imagination on Super 8 sound, and folks, will it ever be made again? Stuff like that. No, I am intrigued. I have to tell you that I am intrigued, and I wish I had a project to mess around with the new Kodak Super 8 camera.
Oh, but that thing's like crazy, right? That's almost like $6,000.
Yeah, but it can be
rental
rented.
That's a rental camera.
If you live in a major city. Or maybe they offer shipping, some of the rental houses. If you have a project, it'd be fun to shoot I don't know any of the specs of it, but didn't you tell me that it has a mini SD to record sound?
I think I don't know if it's for recording sound, but yes, it does have a SD port, and I think that might be for like metadata and like capturing off just like the preview on the screen.
If Kodak would release a consumer version of that for, I don't know, even if it was like $1,500, I think people would buy it.
Well, I was ready for it. I don't know if I discussed this when we first announced it, but like when there were still rumors about it for those first 2 years that it had been announced, the rumor was it was going to be around 2,000 to 2,500. I think a lot of people, myself included, were ready to throw down, even at that, because one of those high-end Canon or Nikon modern Super 8s, those can get pretty close to that price.
I want to be super positive about everything. But,
sure,
I give practical advice to my friends. And you folks listening are my friends, right? So it's like when Matt was talking, I remember you talking about, Super 8, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, listen, man, 16. End of story. End of it.
That was it.
So it's like my whole life, from Bill on the Hill, William Patterson University, was 16. It was all about 16. So you could imagine that after college, my friend Tim O'Raw, who was a writer-director, he would hire me to shoot his feature films. When I say hire, folks, I mean that very loosely. I'm talking about, this is what you're guaranteed. You're guaranteed, 15 to 16-hour days, and you're guaranteed we'll have some pizza maybe once or twice a
pizza
day.
And beer. Yeah.
And, you're guaranteed, I'm going to give you, 5 points on the back end of some feature film that will never be released. So it's just like I was all in for anything. So you can imagine the day of my entire youth shooting 16 and doing it fairly well, of him announcing to myself and John Fideli, like, this next one we're doing on Super 8. And it was just like, what? It was going backwards for me. And I didn't want to hear anything of it, but hey, man, I was game. I was like, okay. And I took all of my 16mm arrogance and I applied it to that Super 8. And it's too bad Dave's not here today. We remastered that feature film that I shot.
Oh.
The Basement.
Yeah, I know you sent out that DVD.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't forget about that.
Oh, it's even better.
That
was an
actual old telecine.
Okay.
Done in 2010.
Yes.
Now technology has changed so much that we've rescanned the Super 8 film to 4K, and now Dave has spent the time to color grade it all.
Oh, so you did it on the laser graphics
Yes.
with the open gate and
Night
all that?
and day.
Oh, I bet that's gonna look great.
Night and day. But I digress. It's so. What's the takeaway here? What are we talking?
So we're you're hyping me up about the Super 8. I'm looking at these two cameras in front of me now. This other one I've been kind of saving because I kind of came into FPP today knowing what Super 8 I had my eye on, and I just asked Mike, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've got one of those." And it's this beautiful silver camera right here. This is a Braun Nizo S40. Can you give me the scoop on this, Mike?
So when I first started getting back into Super 8 in 2015, I was just online, and a few friends of mine kept recommending the Nizo. I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And around the same time, I bought the Minolta 601 XL.
Okay, and that's the other one that's on your shelf.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, personally, my keeper is the 601 XL. Personally, I just like it better.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is personal taste, because if you put them side by side, I don't know if you'll see that much of a difference. They're both really fine cameras. The Nizo has really high marks. People really love it. It's sleek.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation maker, more so than the Minolta.
This definitely looks like I would have to be dressed up a little bit more to be seen shooting with this camera.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful camera.
Yeah, so this one is okay. So this one has some features that look like it make it a little bit more premium, or maybe just newer than this Nikon that's next to it. It's got automatic and manual, and from what we've mentioned, keep it on automatic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got looks like 3 speeds. It has the red dot on 18, so I'm guessing that's the default frame rate. Then we have 24. Then what's this? 54.
Slow motion.
Slow motion. Wow. So
forget it, folks.
Blow through film.
Yeah,
on
don't
that.
do it.
Get 2 clips on a roll.
Yeah, really quick about slow motion
Yeah.
because the 16 millimeter Keystones that I love, they're the hand wind up cameras.
Yes.
I always advise folks. I'm like, listen, you get your camera, it's set on 16. Don't go slow motion.
That's
Don't-
an easy
don't
way
do
to
it.
break a spring, right?
Yeah, it's like those cameras are so old, like they just can't handle it. Now, this is a much newer camera, but in the modern age where you're shooting a negative film that you could easily apply slow motion in post
Effects.
production,
Yeah.
why burn through your film?
Twice as fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Folks do whatever you want, but when you talk about cartridges, whether they jam or not, if you do want to jam it, I'm guessing that blowing it through it was a 64.
54.
54.
So that's a 3x. Is that what that is?
It's a lot.
Wow.
I don't recommend it.
Next to that, I see some mic notes on here, but I'm going to read off it anyway. There's another switch that has a sunlight and a tungsten light on there. So is that for filtration?
Yep.
Wait, so does it have one built in
Yep.
or oh,
A lot of Super 8 cameras, they have filtration built in, and it throws a filter behind the lens.
oh, so that's even nicer.
So it's no
Okay.
filter or 85 orange filter.
Okay.
And I always forget of because years ago, many
it
years
wasn't
ago,
based on daylight. It was
based on tungsten.
Oh, so that's why it's backwards from.
That's why it's backwards.
Oh, okay. That makes because I saw a bulb with no filter, and I'm like, wait, the bulb is usually when we add.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So I say what? Bulb, no filter?
Bulb, no filter, and then you have the Sunlight 85, which makes sense.
So I
'cause-
put an extra Post-it note next to, because I don't want to know bulb or sun. I want to know filter in or
no
filter out.
Yeah, so you know what you're getting.
Right.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
if you're shooting 100D Ektachrome outside, no filter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're shooting inside,
Warm lighting, yeah.
I have to think about these things. What do I inside? I tell you what, inside Ektachrome 100D, I shoot no filter because I want that warm.
Sure. But otherwise, if it's too warm, you may need to cool it.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
that. I want that kind of warm look for my
Mm-hmm.
Ektachrome.
But then let's say you're shooting 500T, a tungsten film in this.
Outside,
Mm-hmm.
85 filter.
So this is where that would apply.
Yes.
So really, I can put the film nobody likes to talk about, 200T in this,
Yes.
and it will make perfect sense.
Perfect sense, and also it's great because that filter is also giving you like a stop,
Yeah.
knocks off a stop because all these cameras are designed for 160,
Okay.
but 200's fine.
Yeah, that's a
You know,
third stop away.
I mean, I can only explain things, Matt, from my perspective, and I understand that in 2024, my perspective, the lens I look through is like 20th century lens. I can't see things from the perspective of a new film shooter who's only shot with their iPhone or with digital camera. So in many respects, I'm now preaching a very old school. I'm the old man, Beau Bridges, in that movie Camera.
the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so I can only, I can only tell you what I know.
Yeah.
Almost doesn't matter because all the negative films, it matters who's
Who's working on
scanning
it?
your film.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting 200T or 50D color negative film and you forget which filter you're in, or you are confused, or if you're as confused as I still am sometimes,
Just
like,
leave
oh my
it
God,
off.
what filter? Because you
Yeah.
panic.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. What matters is who's scanning it and who's grading it.
And that's why we love having Dave here.
That's why, and there are a lot of fine folks out there, tons. You got Pro 8, you got, who's doing Super 8? Oh, you got the Kodak down in Atlanta. You got a
Yeah.
lot. But the folks here, me, Dave, all of us here, John Fideli, Justin, we've all shot movie film.
Mm-hmm.
So we're we have our fingers on the pulse of it. So, and this is not an ad, folks. If you're sending your film to FPP to develop and scan, and we put your film up on a scanner, and you shot 200T outside without the 85 orange filter, you can have a blue image.
Yeah, but you're not. That's not what you're giving them.
We just correct it.
You're giving them the best light. Yeah.
It's not even a thought. It's just
Yep.
correct it and grade it.
And that's usually something people pay a lot more from other services.
I've seen a lot of folks who are enthusiastically posting their reel on Facebook, and it's not graded at all.
I've
it's-
seen that too.
And it's not the fault of the shop doing your grade, because a lot of shops will give you what's known as flat.
Yes.
They grade it flat within spec, but nothing's color graded because they just think you're going to do it.
Yeah, and then there's even those. I remember that there's some like lower level services where they're using those scanners like the what's it called, the Wolverine or whatever.
Wolverine, RetroScan.
Those really don't have the full gamut of controls as these professional film scanning operations. So you're not going to really get the most out of that film.
I remember back when I was still using Deluxe Labs. It was here in Northvale, New Jersey. Dave used to work at Deluxe. They closed their New Jersey shop, I'm grateful because Dave's here now. They got a retro scan because there was a customer who wanted Super 8, and they're like, "Hey, we got this retro scan." I went in and looked at it, and I gave Dave a roll of my film and all I can say is I didn't know any better. Like, you get it, you're so in love with, like, "Oh my God, this is great."
You're just happy it came out.
Yeah. I don't like it personally. At all.
Yeah.
Zero.
Well, I've only ever known FPP, so
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to stay the course.
Yeah, no, once you see, like, a spinner or a laser graphics scan station, there's no comparison. And even if I didn't have the facility here at my fingertips, I would still pay out of my pocket to get it done using that gear.
Yeah.
And these are things that folks just don't know about. I mean, we don't heavily tout what gear we use here at FPP.
No.
We just-
But it matters to a certain
It
extent.
matters because you know when you see the finished scan, you know what you're looking at.
Sure.
And you know it looks good. So, but now we're talking about a whole different topic.
Yeah, sorry,
scanning.
we always kind of drift. But all right, back to this Braun. I do have a couple more questions, Mike. All right, so I looked while we were ranting about color and scans. I opened up the battery compartment. This one takes 6 batteries.
Yes, Power Pig.
Pretty heavy. And then I saw a button cell on the metal base of this.
That's easy to like miss if
The
you're
only reason I know is because old 35mm cameras will have the same kind of thing. But yeah, it's an easy miss. This one takes, it looks like 2. It says PX or 13, but that's also the 625 batteries.
So yeah, PX625.
So
Is there a note on there too? Did I put a little post on there too?
It's on the inside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I slapped 2 625s in there. Listen to this, folks. That's really nice.
Sounds smooth.
It sounds really, really smooth. Okay, so the no filter looks good. Oh wait, Mike, I'm getting something new. There's a red light in
Yes.
my eyepiece. What's that?
Probably low light.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the dark.
Yeah, low light.
And so that'll change if I add like a higher speed
point
film.
to the window.
Yeah.
Or point to the light.
Oh,
I mean-
still dark, but it's.
I mean,
okay.
we're sitting in the FPP warehouse lit by fluorescent light.
yeah, it's not
and
much.
There's not much here at all. So, that's why I always recommend a little light panel. I mean, just pop it in your bag. So if you're like at family dinner and you're shooting,
Mm-hmm.
just, shoot in one hand and then other left hand, have your light panel and just, hover it over the lens.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I have another question. Sorry, I just keep looking around. I find more features on this camera. All right. So I see this little silver socket here. That's threaded. That means I can put a cable release in here.
That's right.
Does that mean that this switch goes to single exposure?
That's right.
Oh my, wait.
Yep.
That's sweet.
You can do an animation.
That would be insane, but yeah.
That's what I loved about the Minolta 601 XL. It had the Minolta, intervalometer. Intervalometer, so you have run, or then one frame at a time.
Yep.
Which then intervalometer, which does one frame at a time, but you set it on tripod, press the shutter, and walk away,
And it'll
it's like
capture a frame every few
click,
seconds?
click.
Is it
click.
preset to a certain amount?
No, you could
Whoa,
shoot.
oh, here, whoa.
Maybe
Hey,
no
hand that over.
batteries in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, hand that over. What do we get? Wow, this is light, Mike.
Great.
So this one's all right. So, folks, what I'm holding here.
Also riddled with notes.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, it's all mementoed up. So we have Minolta XL601. This feels like how people assume Minolta is. Like, oh, it's too cheapy. They take,
Not at all.
They don't give it a second look. But there's a lot of features on this.
Packed.
So we have off and on, but then this has a battery self-check, which I haven't seen on these Super 8s yet.
I love it.
Now it also has backlight. Now, does that backlight something in the viewfinder, or does it compensate the light meter? What does that do?
I've never used it, but I think it opens up like one stop.
Okay, so it's the light meter compensation.
So all of a sudden you're shooting, and then Uncle Leo is
Yep.
like standing with the sun behind
in
him.
the doorway. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then the next one, this is run, so that's for your standard frames. Self timer. Whoa. Okay, so the intervalometer, it's okay. This almost feels like it's got the windshield wiper kind of gauge on
Yes.
there. So it's got the long interval, and then it gets towards smaller. This is really sweet.
I set it up on a tripod at Mark Dalzell's annual Crab Fest and walked away, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so and on this side we've got auto and manual. But even this is the first one where a manual actually shows me something that looks like f-stops on here. It goes
yes.
1.4 to. This thing is sweet.
These are one great thing about movie cameras,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the gauge. A lot of these lenses, they open up to usually
fast.
minimum 1.9.
Yeah.
But this is a 1.4.
Wow.
That Nizo may be a 1.4 too. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It looks like it might be.
The bad news about the Minolta is that it's mine personally, and I'm not lending it out.
That's fine. I fair.
If Fidelity didn't glom the 401, which is identical,
Okay.
like I already loaned out. I had two of them. I already loaned
Oh.
out mine to Fidelity, and Fidelity now calls it my Super 8 camera. So it's like I'm not even getting it back.
Yeah. You've
Yeah.
resigned yourself. Wow.
Yeah, that is my favorite Super 8 camera, and I highly recommend it.
This is pretty sweet. All right. Are there any other things I should be worried about on this Super 8 stuff?
I'm grabbing one more camera.
Oh, okay. Getting the whole tour, folks.
Yeah. Really quick. I see these on eBay all the time. I'm just so fascinated by them because they're such shit.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
The Bentley B3. Matt, I own two of these. Neither of them work, but I'm so fascinated because they're so cheap.
Oh my god, this feels like a toy copy of a Super 8 camera.
Yeah, it's so cheap that I want to get one that works because I want to see if it's really that bad.
It feels like a Scamera.
Yes, it's the lightest, cheapest camera Super 8 camera I've ever seen. Listen, man, I'm talking to folks out there. I'm not bad-mouthing it. I'm not, because I want to shoot with it. But I can't find one
That works.
that works.
I feel like everything I do is going to break it. Wow. This is just... Oh, I found some metal to hold the
Oh, yeah.
cartridge in place. No light seals to be found. Okay, so this one looks like it's got these less of the pegs on there. So I'm
Yes.
guessing this is like 2 film speeds it takes.
Yeah, that,
okay.
if any at all.
Wow. Yeah, this is
They're
a special
cheap.
camera.
They're cheap on eBay if you want to give it a shot. I've bought two of them. Neither of them work. The downside to eBay, especially with these cameras, Super 8 cameras,
Everything's
is,
untested.
yeah, everything's untested. So you're like, oh,
Everything's
grumble,
4
grumble.
parts. Yeah.
Yep. And then, of course, another high recommendation on the low end, and I really recommend this as a first-time use camera.
Okay.
Bell & Howell
Oh,
model.
this is the T20 XL.
It is a point-and-shoot camera,
Mm-hmm.
no focus,
Okay.
has manual zoom, and it's a great grab-and-go camera.
Oh, this one sounds pretty good.
Yeah. It's good. I use it all the time.
Wow.
So if I just want to document something, and I want no sweat, then I just grab the Bell & Howell. What's it called? T what?
T20 XL.
There's T20 XL and there's T30 XL.
This
and
definitely feels like somebody's first Super 8 camera.
someone's first Super 8.
Yeah.
It's the one to get. Takes one set of AA batteries, pop your cartridge in, and shoot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to go soon.
Oh.
Only
All right.
because we're going to be having lunch here
So,
in-house.
all right. All that said, I don't think my mind has shifted at all. I'm smitten with how this Braun looks, because before today I only knew Braun for the shavers.
Shavers.
Yeah, those over the top shaver commercials.
Oh, so the reason I think what accelerated your interest in the Super 8 Matt is that
Yeah.
so we now carry the Wolfen
Yes.
Wolfen UN54 black and white film. We're gonna have to talk about it next show.
Okay, great.
But just really quick. So the fine folks at Whitner over in Germany sent me a sample roll of Wolfen Color 400 Super 8, and I just wanted to. I'm tired of shooting the water tower. I have no subject. Whereas Matt in Columbus, you have yourself, your good buddy Tariq. You have a studio.
Yep.
You have faces you could shoot. I mean, you shot and test film of like a dancer. Like it's
yeah.
great stuff. And I really wanted this to possibly, to shine, to do something interesting with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to take it for a spin.
So I'm hoping that we can come back, maybe do a roll review,
Yeah.
podcast / YouTube video of the Wolfen Color 400.
And then I can blame the cartridge because I messed something up.
That's one of the questions I asked Whitner. I'm like, do these cartridges jam? No jamming. They told us how they take the Wolfen film and they coat it with a lubricant
Oh, to make sure it doesn't.
on a production line. So they're
doing a lot of extra stuff to
a
it.
lot of extra stuff.
Wow.
I have a lot of confidence in this film. I've never seen it. I've seen some samples of the UN54,
Yeah.
but we're going to save the UN54 for next show because it's a black and white negative / reversal film. What does that mean?
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, so we'll podcast at filmphotographyproject.com, and we'll just pick up the next episode, Matt, and we'll just start from where we left off here.
Great.
So we're on our way to do an episode a month, folks, for top of the month movie film podcast. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll talk to you super soon.
All right, see you later.
Far away, another day. Distant planets turn to gray. Today's the day I find my way. Distant places, familiar faces. Time has changed us, rearranged us. Today's the day I find my way. Children sing and blossoms spring, the scent of sweetness through the air, but they don't care. They've had their share. Heading north, I'm moving forth. Raise my power for every hour to equalize and mesmerize.
It's all in the past now.
Yeah?